thoughts, opinions, and general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Whatever it is, mine is better.
Actually, my dude moved to Vegas. So,
yes. Good morning. That's right. It's Tuesday, March 4th. And today, Todd, it's National Sons Day.
Sons?
That's right.
Oh,
sons.
so
Yeah, sons. You have sons?
I do have a son.
Look at that.
I only have one.
Yeah, I know Saman should be here in a minute. He has a son. And he has another son that's on the way any day. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's exciting.
I mean, it can be, I guess. It sounds expensive to me.
It's definitely expensive. You know, I saw this thing. It says cost about $800,000 to raise a child from birth till 18.
I think it's actually more than that, man. Kids are expensive nowadays, and I think that was that was a dated statement there, Todd.
Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. It's also national. Oh, excuse me. It's also Marching Music Day.
That's weird.
I mean, back in the days, you know what's funny, Todd, is in high school, our marching show band used to believe that the hash marks on the football field were for them.
They're not.
They're definitely not for them. They're definitely not for them. It's also National Grammar Day, Todd.
Well, I'll be sure to speak properly.
Yes, that would be fantastic. And it's also National Hug a GI Day.
Nice.
Look at that, Rico. It's National Hug a GI Day.
Is that a GI like gastrointestinal?
No, stop it, Todd. You know what GI is.
No Joe's.
Yeah, G.I. Joe.
Yeah, it's sad Sean Kiernan is not here. He could use a hug.
Yeah.
Well,
Todd's the closest to him. So Sean, Todd's going to give you a hug. He's going to give you a whole reach around and everything today, just for you.
Oh, check the oil.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did that turn into from a hug all of a sudden?
That's good. That's that Jason Beck spin right there.
Oh,
I mean,
I'm on the wrong chat. I'm logging off.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah,
You're
right. Yeah,
I
right.
bet.
You just upgraded your subscription.
Yeah. Speaking of all that, you guys.
Pay model now.
It's also National Pound Cake Day, you guys.
Oh yes, it is. Every day is National Pound Cake Day for me.
Yeah. And Yarrow and Saman, you guys missed the first thing today. But I think this is appropriate for you because it's today is National Sons Day.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
I am like the son.
Yeah. So Yarrow, you can remind your son that today is National Sons Day, and that way you can try to elevate to Rico's level of dope dadness.
He might need a step.
Spoken like a non-parent.
There's a pecking order of dopeness here.
There can only be one.
I'm obviously in the middle of that.
It's semi-dope.
And Todd, I did promise you. I had one other statement. It's not one of the days of the week, but I don't know if you guys heard, but Glock came out with a brand new gun.
Yeah, well, are we gonna have access to this thing in California within
Yes.
the next
Not if
10
you're a
years?
medical
We still-
cannabis patient.
You're definitely yes. It is.
3 over here, bro.
It is definitely going to be available in California. So they made a 45 and a 47 and put it all in one.
Oh God, this is a
Okay.
Trump joke. Get it?
And
45, 47.
it's
He's
the
going
it's
from
the straightest
caliber to low caliber.
it's the straightest shooter that they've ever made. And not to mention, there's no trigger on it, Yarrow. There's no trigger. It's voice activated.
There's no
No trigger.
safety
Yep,
on it.
there's no trigger.
Safety on it, and there's no magazine.
Hold on, hold on, Yarrow. Hold on, Yarrow. Hold on.
Open your hand.
Hold on. There's no trigger on it. It's voice activated. You just say you're fired, and it pops them off.
Well, you got one thing right. He's popping off. I get it.
Yeah. Anyways, I hope glad you guys enjoyed all of that. Anyway, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, as well as on our very own website at www.high9news.com and Kick as well. Don't let me forget about that. But we are going to kick it off with the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte, the man who is apparently having a good hair day today because he's not wearing a hat. It's not turned to the back or nothing. He's in purple, like the color purple. That's right. It is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Thank you, Jason. And your obsession with black hair has reached a fever pitch. Glad to hear that.
Yeah, I love black hair, bro. My hair is black.
Yeah. You would too, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Gonna let that go. Anyways,
having cornrows someday.
Consultants hired by the state of California to find what the hell is wrong with our cannabis market say that the rent is too damn high. But the rent's due and French Laundry dinners ain't cheap. So will government agreed be delivering the final nail into the California cannabis coffin or what? According to Green Market Report's John Schroyer, a new report by ERA Economics commissioned by the California Department of Cannabis Control highlights that while legal cannabis sales continue to grow, the illicit market still dominates, holding about 60% of the state's trade. In 2023, legal cannabis production reached 1.4 million pounds, but illegal production far exceeded that at 11.4 million pounds, with 9 million pounds shipped out of state. I wonder where they went, New York. Despite these challenges, California legal market has gained 13% market share since 2019, with production up 11.8 last year. However, growth has plateaued at around 38% since 2021. What's going on here? Retail sales revenue has declined due to falling prices, even as overall cannabis sales by weight have increased. Wholesale prices rose 11.7% last year after years of decline, though they remain at 57% below peaking in 2020. Market contraction continues with fewer active cultivation permits and delivery operators. The report predicts continued adjustments in 2024 to 2025, with tax and fee changes potentially benefiting the legal market, though a possible excise tax hike in 2025 could dampen the progress, you think? The silver lining behind all this is that ERA's surprisingly simple policy recommendations are that they say would rapidly rectify most of the woes listed, which include lowering costs of legal businesses, improving industry data collection, and encouraging local governments to support the industry by reducing taxes and fees.
Do they say woes?
Right. So the DCC spends millions of dollars on this ERA economics team to analyze, report on, and recommend actions to remedy the issues currently dragging on California's cannabis potential. And the recommended fix is to lower upfront business costs, collect more data, and for more localities to open up their damn markets with lower taxes and fees. Sounds like somebody over there has been watching High at 9 News and they could have saved a couple $1 million, because this is the same shit we've been calling for every damn day. Question is, will Gavin Newsom or the DCC move on any of this, or will the trap continue to dominate? I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News. Love to hear from you guys. What do you think?
Was this article written by Drake?
Why would you say that?
Because all them woes.
I've got woes.
Drake,
I've got woes.
Drake does it
In
right.
different area codes.
I'm just asking. Also, too, I mean, where did they get this out-of-state data from of how many pounds went out of state? How were they able to quantify that?
They bought it.
They bought it.
They were
Was that?
Well, they have to hit up every single company that's collecting data. Actually,
Was that-
so they have multiple.
Was that just the from the lawsuit from Catalyst and Glasshouse? Was that just the data from that?
No, they do a mass survey on Telegram and WhatsApp and aggregate the
A mass survey on Telegram.
They're a lot more thorough than that. They use Snapchat too. Come on, Yarrow. Come on. Bro.
I thought it was called Snatch Chat.
So what they've done is they've extrapolated. They're guessing. You know, that's really what it is. But they've also used satellite imagery to sort of calculate what they think the unregulated grows that they can detect from satellite are going to do. But you know, they're guessing. That's it.
I wonder if any of those packs had one of those little trackers in them. You know what I'm saying? So that way they could see where they went.
Apple tags.
Yeah, the Apple tag. Yeah, those AirTag things. Yeah. Not to mention too, it'll add weight to your peas. You know what I'm saying? This one's over. This one's over. This one's over too.
Yeah. Dig it.
Just saying.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Look, the key to success, as you mentioned, is lower taxes and easier or lower barriers to entry.
Yeah, they didn't have to pay millions of dollars for that.
Right.
They specialize in lower barriers to entry out there where you're at, Todd, in Las Vegas. They specialize in that.
In low taxes?
And low barriers to entry.
Can I ask
the cannabis space?
Can I ask a dumb question?
Go for
Why
it.
are there barriers to entry? Why are there actual barriers involved in this conversation? Why aren't they why aren't they like ushering in more people to join here and to kind of like, you know, start on another part of the supply chain that matters that we haven't really fully developed? Pretty much got all the production handled, I think, but
because they only can handle so many people not paying their bills, Saman.
Well, I mean, I guess the only solution is what they've been using, right? Which is sell more weed. Which is sell more weed and open that up to create more avenues of revenue generation. So, I mean, like, it seems like there's a problem with supply always building up and the sales not happening as fast.
Yeah,
it seems like pretty simple economics to me, but what do I know?
I think what you're saying is spot on here, Saman. And I think that's the whole gist of this report is the fix is fucking simple. The one thing that they did say in there about the localities, they need more localities to open up so you have less illegal operators. We brought this up, I think, on yesterday's show too, Jason. A lot of people don't realize. Was it like less than 30% of California counties actually are legalized?
Yep.
Believe it or not. So you still have a ton of trap out here. You have a ton of illegal operators. I don't know if they're constituting that as adding to these out-of-state sales. I really don't know how they got that number in there. I guess it is what it is.
And last time I checked, crazy thing is every post office all throughout California is a sub-trap station.
Dude, what they should do is they should hire some of these trappers to really develop a solid and airtight track and trace system, because they never lose. They know where all that shit's going.
Oh, that would make some money right there. I'm not mad at that. That would be that would be pretty ingenious right there, Rico.
I think so, man.
Yeah, I can tell Yarrow's looking up something. He's scourging for some data and he's looking frustrated right now. What do you got, Yarrow? What do you got?
Yarrow's over there on Grindr.
Yeah.
68% of California cities ban cannabis.
I'm frustrated because I realized that Rico's article and my article are actually touching the same.
They're close. Yeah.
They're
close.
docking.
That was Even I'm uncomfortable with that. And I fly the rainbow flag here in Northern California. I'm believing. Oh God, the two of you. I mean, like, I'm gonna pray to Comcast my internet connection fails as quickly as possible.
I mean, I think Todd has the best chance of that today.
To make sure that we don't touch on the same aspects of this report.
No crossing swords.
Speaking of touching,
no crossing streams, you guys. No crossing streams. Okay, stay in your lane.
Oh gosh.
Oh geez.
Well, I guess since Yarrow's worried about crossing streams, I guess we're gonna roll into our first commercial, and we are gonna be right back.
Just. Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where am I even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Pink filter tip for breast cancer.
Yes, and we are back, Rico.
Yes, we are. And up next, folks, is the highest Republican in every room that you've ever been into, known for spinning more things than basketballs and an arena full of Globetrotters. I'm here to break us off with our second story of the day, which I'm sure will be filled with things that he calls facts. Jason Beck.
Of course, bro. Only truth. I actually call my facts truthisms, Rico. Just in case you're wondering, we call those truthisms, okay? Around here, around these parts. All right.
Yeah.
But let me tell you guys, there was a lot of things going on out there in the great red state of Texas yesterday because the Texas Senate considered a total THC ban. And they are so far. We're about to give you a heads up, you guys. The Senate State Affairs Committee began its discussion on a bill that would ban all forms of THC, primarily the psychoactive ingredient found in marijuana, on Monday. Texas Senate Bill 3 was named one of Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick's priority bills for this session in January and aims to address concerns that unregulated THC products are being sold across the state. This comes after Texas lawmakers legalized the commercialization of hemp, including products with THC levels under 0.3% in Texas in 2019. But Dan Patrick contends that retailers have abused the law by using loopholes to market products with unsafe levels of THC, especially to minors, he says. And senators echoed that sentiment in Monday's meeting, and in a quote they say, "We've tried to let the industry regulate itself. They've proved they can't. They don't want to and won't. It's time to fix it," said Senator Charles Perry, Republican from Lubbock. In Monday's meeting, Perry, the author of SB 3, previously carried the 2019 agriculture bill that has expressed concern over the growth in hemp dispensaries that have popped up since the passing of the previous bill. And according to Dr. Tim Stevenson, the Deputy Commissioner for Consumer Protection from the Department of State Health Services, there are currently 740 licensed manufacturers of THC, 5,043 retail registrants with more than 8,000 locations throughout the state. Critics of the current hemp market point to a lack of testing requirements, age restrictions, and regulations, arguing that the variety of products, from smokable vapes to oils to gummies and baked goods, has posed health risks. risks, marketed to minors, and disrupted access for those who need medical cannabis. How are they going to disrupt access for people with medical cannabis when you only have 3 medical cannabis stores in the entire state? That's just total ridiculousness. Anyways, this bill aims to ease those concerns by prohibiting the sale of consumable hemp products to minors under 21. It also requires all legal consumable hemp products to be properly labeled and placed in tamper-evident, child-resistant, and resealable packaging. Additionally, the bill creates new criminal offenses to prevent the sale of illegal products in Texas. And currently, the difference in the legal and illegal products lie in the plants from which they come, even though it's all cannabis sativa L at the end of the day, but nonetheless. Hemp and marijuana plants are both cannabis plants. Oh, they got something right in this article. And marijuana plants have high levels of THC, while hemp contains low amounts of the ingredient. Oh, man, these people. Monday's meeting included testimony from Steve Dye, the police chief in Allen, who also leads the Texas Police Chiefs Association efforts regarding consumable hemp products. During his testimony, he provided handout documents, a unified letter of support for SB 3 from the Texas Police Chiefs Association, the Sheriff's Association, the Texas School District Police Chiefs Association, and the Voice of Texas Law Enforcement, TMPA, and the Combined Law Enforcement Associations of Texas, CLEAT, C-L-E-A-T. And Dye added SB 3 could do more to help law enforcement, he said. So apparently SB 3 is not enough for law enforcement, but nonetheless, in a quote, they say, "We need your help in protecting our communities and urge your support, Senate Bill 3. However, we believe more elements need to be added to this bill to ensure that it's both enforceable and prosecutable," they say. They also heard testimony from Justin Arsenalot, a sergeant in the narcotics division of the Allen PD, Brian Hathorne, the sheriff of Chambers County, and Dr. Lindy McGee, a pediatrician in Houston. All were in support of the bill and provided evidence from their respective backgrounds as to why this measure is necessary. Many who oppose the bill are in favor of increased regulation, but believe a ban would go too far, hurting both consumers and businesses. And after hearing from the panel, the committee decided to leave SB 3 pending until public testimony later on Monday afternoon. The bill must get through committee, pass through the Senate and the House before it gets to Governor Greg Abbott's desk to be signed into law. You guys. Well, it seems like this bill still has a ways to go in this, but I saw there was a number of advocates out there, and I even saw some testimony from Brian Dombrowski, who's often in our chat on a regular basis, give some testimony yesterday as well, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Somebody's messing with Texas.
Mm-hmm. FAFO, huh? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Texas is a very backwards state who does everything backwards.
Do they? They don't wear their pants backwards.
I think they do. I mean, I think they should just pass some comprehensive cannabis laws, legalize it, because that's what the people want.
Mm-hmm.
The politicians don't want it, and that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Got to protect the kids. Got to protect the kids.
Oh, Adam,
about Jesus.
Adam, not cheese. Adam, not cheese. Reed in the chat says that that former Governor Rick Perry name dropped hometown hero before he left. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Did Rick Perry ever change the name on his ranch on his property?
Well, also too, Brian Dombrowski is in the chat and he says, "I got to drop Canadian cartel and corporate cannabis conglomerates in the same speech." So he was excited about that. and I'll be posting Brian's speech on our Instagram and X page later on today, so you guys can check that out and see what they had to say exactly.
I want to know what Rick Perry sees through those fake ass glasses he wears.
Why do you think they're fake?
Stephen Perry.
Why do you think they're fake?
Because they're fake.
I mean, I thought people in Texas call them specs. First of all.
I think that's a racial derogatory term, bro.
That is not a racial derogatory term. That is ridiculous. Stop that. Stop that gaslighting, Saman.
Yeah, Jason.
That is ridiculous.
I don't appreciate that.
I bet you don't, Rico. I bet you didn't even wear a hat today.
Oh man.
Yarrow, you have any thoughts on this on big Texas, and you know what I'm saying?
We talked about Texas yesterday, right? There's a drumbeat of less than favorable information coming out of Texas right now.
You sound kind of
And
depressed.
it has nothing to do with this new administration. It has nothing to do with the Republican policy.
Mm-hmm.
Just the AG is suing the police chief.
It has
How
everything.
sad is that?
It has everything to do with a grifter, a Maryland lieutenant general. A Marylander.
I thought you were talking about the president of the United States.
No. I'm talking about Dan Patrick, the lieutenant governor out there.
I think Paxton is.
Ken Paxton. I'm sorry, Ken Paxton. Yeah.
Yeah, Paxton's an AG, and he's definitely not a pro-cannabis dude.
He's the detritus of public policy.
It's not even that. Let me tell you what it is.
Go for it, Saman.
It's that there's a couple really rich oil guys who are very conservative and very Christian. And they do not want cannabis to proliferate further than what it is. They want to go backwards, and they want to take it all out. And that's really what Texas is about. It's about, this is a battle that's butting up against societal interests and needs and government revenue, and being battled against, the citizenry and their money and their wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just going to go nowhere in Texas, unfortunately. It's going to be a really tough situation the next 12 months in Texas. I really hope that they can overcome the money that's being poured in by these couple of these big Texas oil billionaires. So let's hope they can. But what we know is the money is always going to prevail. And the people that are putting more money into the opposition are probably going to succeed. And that's a really sad day, because Texas is an enormous market. It's a great market. There's a lot of
huge market.
And they need to have the access. There's nobody actually more in this country that needs the access than people in Texas. So we need to do something. So let's brainstorm. We need all of our stakeholders. We need all our homies to get in with us. Brainstorm with High at 9 News every day. And brainstorm in the chat. You can hit us up after. We're always available.
All of this
topic to follow.
Yeah, you're the richest man in the world that lives in Texas now. Why don't you get him on board?
He is.
Well,
that's Republican power, right? That's a Republican power right there.
All of this, Christian conservatives need to go back and read Genesis 1:29 and get back in touch with the Old Testament.
Elon Musk said he identifies as a Christian.
Really? Interesting.
Didn't he identify what he is at birth?
He's trying to get up in them cults.
Easy there. He's
trying to get more tax-free money.
What is more religious than cannabis? It's peace, love, joy.
Yeah.
Honoring thy neighbor.
It was the burning bush. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Cannabis? No, it's not, Jason.
It's a fragrant cane.
That's DMT, bro.
DMT is not a bush, bro. DMT is bark.
It could be a bushy bark, Jason.
Stop! You guys don't understand how this stuff works. Apparently, you guys are rookies in this. Apparently,
Jason, I know that the Trump Bible was written in emoji, but there are things that are beyond what you know in this world.
That's not true.
Emojis and capital letters with exclamation points.
Exclamation points are great. They're one of my favorite punctuation marks.
It's smiley faces and Sharpie.
I mean, in all fairness, if there was a Trump Bible, like it would be, I think it would be
better.
There
is one. He's selling.
Slow down, Todd. Slow down. I'm talking about the one that they're referring to with emojis and whatnot. I think it would be better suited if it was just pages of memes. It would probably be more interactive.
Yeah, because we all know he can't read.
Stop it.
All right.
Let's get back to the text thing.
At least he can sign his signature. That's all that matters. You know what I'm saying?
If you're in Texas and you really want to know who's the opposition, the guy's name is Tim Dunn and a guy named Ferris Wilks. Look those guys up. They're your opposition. They're our opposition.
Fair enough.
Prayers out to Texas.
Well, we're gonna roll right on into the golden voice himself, Mr. Todd Denkin. He's the founder of Digipath Labs and of the Smuggleverse, where you can get all of your digital dank. That's right. He's the founder of TNM News, and that's right, is none other than Mr. Todd Denkin.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll supply my own applause.
Bro, I have the applause going. You don't need to do that. I have them going. Just because you can't hear them doesn't mean they're not there.
Yeah. Just because I can't.
Just because you can't hear them, they're there. I promise.
That was an ageist comment.
I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Q-tips. Can you please sponsor us? We need to send some to Todd.
Please. Well, my story out of Washington State, as Washington lawmakers once again abandoned the effort to allow adults to grow marijuana at home. Democrats in the Washington State Legislature have once again given up. Plan to legalize home cultivation marijuana for personal use, opting instead to keep the conduct classified as a felony. Lawmakers in the House Appropriations Committee did not act on the home grow bill, HB 1449, from Representative Shelley Kloba, for a legislative deadline on Friday, meaning it's now dead for the session. If enacted, the bill would have allowed adults 21 years and older to grow up to 6 cannabis plants at home for personal use, households capped at 15 plants regardless of how many adults reside on the premises. The bill could also lawfully keep the marijuana produced by those plants despite the state's existing 1-ounce limit on possession. Kloba and other supportive lawmakers have worked for nearly a decade to pass a law allowing adults to grow a small number of cannabis plants for their own use. Each year, other lawmakers and executive agencies have stood in the way of the proposal. Kloba staff on Friday confirmed to Marijuana Moment that the bill would not move forward this year, saying that lawmaker will, quote, continue pursuing this policy, unquote, declining to comment further. Last year, Kloba sponsored HB 2194, which similarly died, not being called for a vote in the House Appropriations Committee. The last year's proposal failed to advance. Kloba similarly said she would continue to pursue the reform. He said, every session has its own character and constraints, which so far have meant that the bill has not advanced to the Senate. But I'm not giving up, she added. Washington was one of the first U.S. states to legalize adult use marijuana, passing a ballot initiative in 2012. Growing marijuana for personal use without a state medical card, however, remains a Class C felony, carrying up to 5 years in prison and up to $10,000 in fines. Legislative efforts to allow personal cultivation stretch back at least 2015. So far, each one has failed. This year, the proposal had the support of a number of marijuana industry organizations that faced considerably less pushback from the state agencies, such as the Liquor and Cannabis Board, which came out against past home grow plans. Democrats, nevertheless, held to coalesce around the bill. It's time to make this change, Kloba said at a House Consumer Protection and Business Committee hearing earlier this month. We legalized so much with regard to cannabis back when we passed I-502, but what we didn't allow for was this. The committee voted to advance HB 1449 after first adopting 3 amendments to the proposal, all of which came from Representative Christine Reeves, a Federal Way Democrat, who in the past years repeatedly opposed efforts to legalize home cultivation. Reeves's changes include requiring state marijuana regulators at the Liquor and Cannabis Board to establish traceability requirements to track plants, cannabis harvested from those plants, and also waste created by homegrown marijuana. LCB would further authorize to establish a fee that would be paid by adults interested in growing at home. Cannabis waste would need to be ground up and incorporated into other household waste in order to be legally disposed of. Commercial cannabis producers would also need to post information for consumers about state law around home cultivation, and LCB would need to publish comprehensive information on its website about home cultivation, including related civil and criminal risks. A separate amendment from Reeves would require that people engaging in home cultivation in cannabis first obtain liability insurance, such as renter's insurance. His third amendment specifies that an individual would initially receive a warning from law enforcement if they grow more plants or possess more marijuana allowed under the state law. It also directs law enforcement to consider whether legal marijuana is accessible within a jurisdiction when deciding whether to enforce the state home grow law. All law enforcement personnel would currently go to basic training also need to complete a bias training around the war on drugs and the history of cannabis enforcement, including its disproportionate impact on certain communities. Even after all of Reeves' amendments adopted by the committee, she still emphasized that she was, quote, a reluctant yes, the underlying bill, to let Washington adults grow cannabis plants at home. Reeves said during the hearing that communities like mine do not want cannabis in their communities, that marijuana businesses are not currently allowed in federal way. Possession and use by adults is legal statewide. Separately in Washington, county courts are tasked with vacating hundreds of thousands of past drug convictions following a 2021 Supreme Court ruling the state's simple possession law was unconstitutional. A recent report finds that jurisdictions across the state are making uneven progress clearing the records. I'm Todd Denkin with High at 9 News, and why do you guys think it's so difficult to pass a home grow law in Washington State, a state that's been legal 2011?
Well, I mean, I have a good reason why.
This is weird.
It actually makes a lot of sense because the state controls everything. The state controls all of it. The state is basically your partner in Washington because when you sell, if you sell a product and it sells for $45, $15 goes to the brand, $15 goes to the retail store, and $15 goes to the state of Washington. That's why. That's why they don't want anybody buying anything unless it's going through them. So then they're getting that money. That's why it's so hard to pass.
Allow me to be hyper partisan on a Tuesday morning. I think this article summed it up. First of all, the Democrats were supporting homegrown, not the Republicans. And then secondly, at the very top of the article, it says Democrats in Washington state have once again given up. So they're quitters.
So they're quitters.
The Republicans were obstructionists and the Democrats gave up. Like, that's the story of American politics when it comes to cannabis policy across every state. The Dems gave up.
I thought Democrats are all about the you know what I'm saying, never giving up and, you know, persevering on, and, you know what I'm saying, the fight is still going strong. All of that.
Maybe,
especially after that Kamala speech when she was all drunk.
Maybe
the fact that we have mature markets that still don't have home grow is just a travesty. You would think that there would be bipartisan support. The fact that we're talking about ending prohibition and social equity and all this, and home grow in Washington can still be a felony.
I mean, guys, it's not hard to understand. It's a market where the businesses that sell the cannabis are struggling. So they don't want people to grow their own weed. They want them to buy their weed.
That's what I said.
That's
exactly what I said. Yeah.
I know. And that's really where this is boiling. It's like the proponents of cannabis in the beginning that were all gung-ho and let's just free the plant, and they got their businesses going, but their revenues have been dwindling over years. They're turning into the opposition to these freedoms. This is a giant problem, right?
This is just stupid, man. This is the same state that allowed the whole city to just run itself. Remember the Chad debacle? You know, the Chaz debacle. They let that go on, but they don't let people grow their own. Like, come on, Washington, get your shit together.
It's just like, look, you can't out of one side of your mouth say you should be able to be free and do what you want to do, and then out of the other side of your mouth say, hey, you can't do that though. We're not going to
unless you want to do that, right? Exactly.
Yeah, look. That's why that's why partisan politics gets everyone fucked up, because you got the guy saying, hey, we should have less government, more freedom, individual sovereignty, personal liberty. And then they're like, we can't let you do those things, because if we let you do those things, then you're not going to need the system. And then what are we going to do? And that's a real shitty take, right? That's
America in a nutshell, right?
Well, that's governments in a nutshell. I don't think it's just America. I think it's fair to say that this is just a citizen versus a government situation. So how do we evolve from this moment, right? How do we get better? Who do we elect? How do we have to
take government out of the picture?
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I'm not advocating for anarchy, because I don't think that's going to help solve any.
I didn't say that.
Problems.
That's what it is. You take government out of the picture.
Not necessarily, Jason. You don't really know what anarchy is, do you?
I do.
Well, Saman does, because his parents had to come from a place where.
Yeah, exactly.
rule of law is one of the most fantastic things about society, right? Is we all have, at least it's perceived, that we all have a level playing field. And so when we take away all the BS and nonsense, we realize that we're just in the same kind of tricked up, gamed up system as everywhere else and any other government in any other part of the world. So what do we do as citizens? How do we take control back into our elected officials, and what do we need to do? That's the conversation, because it's really up to us, and we tell ourselves we don't have anything to do with it and we can't affect it, but really the system was created so we could, and we've gotten so far away from that. We're just back up in this, oligarchical and oligopical system of how things work, and it's not gonna last, right? So there's gonna be a breakdown. We could see that. We could see around the bend. So how do we fix it? How do we prepare ourselves to fix it?
Well, I mean, the only way to fix it is to overgrow your government, and people just need to just be doing massive home grows and whatnot, and just saying screw it. And then you need to have a jury nullification intact in there to where there are no people that are going to convict you of a crime because it's a victimless crime for growing weed at your house, and that's the only way to really overcome that.
Well,
there are no victimless crimes, Jason.
Not paying your taxes is a victimless crime, but they put you in jail for a long time for that too.
Pretty soon that's not going to happen because the IRS is going to be abolished, Saman.
Keep on listening to Jason Beck. Listen to Jason Beck, tax specialist.
Anybody who thinks the IRS is going to be abolished is crazy.
They're abolishing the IRS. Big Balls is taking it to them.
Thoroughly committed to tax revenue. That is the craziest thing I've ever. No,
we're going to have tariffs, bro. We're going to have all these tariffs in place. We're not even going to need it.
Oh, right. Oh, that's right. I forgot it, because a tariff is a tax. You just said it. Not
I'm fine with tariffs. I'm fine with tariffs. I'm totally good with tariffs.
Tax for consumers.
I'm good with tariffs. I'm good with it. I'm good with it.
We pay for the tariff.
I'm not that big of a consumer. I don't need to worry about it. Totally good with it. Totally good with it. All day, every
good
day.
With paying more money for services that we import?
We don't really import services. We import people. That's cute though, Todd.
You don't
import services, data services from the Philippines, from India, from call centers, from co-location
no call centers. Nope. I'm all about American. Yeah, employ Americans.
No, you're not. You're just all about whatever Trump says is right.
That's right. Exactly.
Let's just give it a buck.
Employ Americans. I can't believe you guys have all this anti-American sentiment, but nonetheless.
There's none of that. I think the lawmakers are anti-American because the American people have spoken, and the lawmakers are not doing the bidding of the citizenry.
Saman,
they are right now.
Lawmakers know better.
They are right now.
Saman, but you won't explicitly say the government is the problem and the government needs to get it the fuck out.
Democrats are the problem. I'll say it. Democrats are the problem.
Remove the government.
No, I said the government's the problem, but we can replace the people that are the stalwarts there, right? We can really be effective, but you have to care and you have to focus on that rather than focus on feeding your family and getting earning a living.
So you got to replace the people. So great replacement theory.
Well, you guys are so funny. Speaking of all that, we're going to replace this conversation right into our next commercial, and we're going to be right back. I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi. We are back, you guys. We are back. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know you'll appreciate it. We'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com.
I'm Cole Preston, and today I'm at Blue Island Beer Company for the premiere of my mini documentary on legalization policy in Illinois. I've been following cannabis policy since colorful Colorado legalized it all the way back in the day, and when my home state of Illinois decided to legalize it, I just became enamored. I wondered, what would it actually look like? If you'd like to see how Illinois fell short in achieving meaningful reform in their cannabis policy, you can watch my mini doc now at colememo.com/minidoc.
We're back, you guys.
Leveling up the intro.
We're back. We're back, Yarrow. Mm-hmm.
Up next, this fellow dope dad industry vet and award-winning solvent extraction pioneer is currently focused on helping menopausal women push the play button with Hello High again. Yeah, he's ready to break us off with our first story of the second half of today's show. Saman Razani. International man of mystery.
Hold on, Saman. Before you go, before you get into this, we just got a super chat in from Moy Freestyle Life who says, "True anarchy is not crime, violence. It's high vibrational people being self-sufficient." RFK said he takes fluoride out of the water, and I've had a RO 10 years. The kingdom of heaven is within, he says.
I think it's
amazing.
Yes,
RFK.
Thank you so much for that, Moy Freestyle. Yes.
Take away the fluoride.
That was amazing. And let me tell you, no, it's true. You know, I've had a lot of experiences. You know, shout out to all the anarchists hopping trains out there. You know, they end up in Denver. We end up hanging out, smoking weed on the street. You know, that's how it is. That's how we. You know, that's how you guys got
your homeless population out there.
It's how we're effective community members. You know, we reach out, try to bring it all together.
Interesting.
All
interesting
all
perspective.
and all walks.
Interesting.
Happy Fat Tuesday, everybody. Happy Mardi Gras. It's a great day. I hope everyone's, you know, getting their king's cake and their just desserts. I know some of us are.
It's pound cake day.
We have a story
pound cake day.
We have a story from Down Under, from our friends Down Under, but not Australia, in New Zealand. Gandalf accused of selling illegal medicinal cannabis in New Zealand. What a headline!
Yeah, Yarrow. This one hits home.
A little Kiwi.
Yo. The Guardian reports, outrage over targeting one of New Zealand's alleged green fairies who provide cheaper medicinal cannabis without prescription. Police have shut down the alleged medicinal cannabis operation of one of New Zealand's most renowned green fairies, prompting an outpouring of support from a prominent politician and the hundreds of people who rely on such products to ease their pain. Police raided the the rural Northland property of 66-year-old Paul Smith, one widely known as Gandalf, this last week, destroying plants and greenhouses and seizing cannabis products. Smith was charged with cultivating, possessing for supply and selling cannabis, which could carry an 8-year jail sentence, and was summoned to court. Medicinal cannabis has been legal in New Zealand since 2020, but patients are reliant on gaining a doctor's prescription to access it for treatment. So-called green fairies provide cheaper, more readily available, hidden market products. That's a great term, one we've never heard before, or I haven't at least. And there's a picture here that shows over 50 people protesting outside of district court on Monday, where Smith pled not guilty to the charges. Way to go, man. Fight up. This isn't just an attack on one man. It's an assault on hundreds of patients who rely on affordable relief, said protest organizer Pearl Schomburg, who is a patient of Gandalf's and the convener of Auckland Patients Group, an advocacy group pushing for cannabis law reform. About a dozen police officers arrived at Gandalf's property last week with sledgehammers and axes to destroy roughly 40 plants and greenhouses Schomburg told The Guardian. They ransacked his house and took away all of his thank you cards and letters, she said. Smith was no criminal mastermind, she said. He's a compassionate, barefoot hippie with a battered truck and a heart of gold. People wishing to access medicinal cannabis do not always succeed in obtaining a prescription or can feel discomfort asking their doctors for one due to the stigma surrounding cannabis. For others, the up to $400 a month price tag puts the legal product out of reach, Schomburg said. The only people that can access legal cannabis currently in New Zealand are the wealthy. There is not equality of access to these products, she said. Smith thanked the supporters in a short video shared on social media and donations paid set up to help pay for his legal fees. And there's a picture of him on the article, and he's just a really nice-looking old guy who probably has been growing weed for a long time. To all you lovely people out there, I give you a big hug. A heartfelt thanks for all your kind words and support. I'll never experience anything like this in all my life. What a nice guy. Cannabis is New Zealand's most commonly used illicit drug, with over 500,000 adults having used it between 2023 and 2024, according to the New Zealand Health Survey. In 2020, the country narrowly voted against legalizing cannabis. Green Party co-leader Chloe Swarbrick threw her support behind the protesters, saying the raid on Smith was an absolute abysmal waste of public resources. The costly war on drugs has done little to reduce drug use and move addiction statistics, she said, adding that new approach based in harm reduction and evidence was necessary. Swarbrick, who has long advocated for the legalization of cannabis, pointed to a recent Massey University study showing 2/3 of New Zealand's medicinal cannabis users still access it through the hidden market, mostly due to the expense of legal cannabis. And what she means by that is the tax of legal cannabis. That should really be a clear sign that the rules that we have in place right now are not working, and that we should do something about them instead of terrorizing a 66-year-old man. In a statement to The Guardian, the police said it would be inappropriate for them to comment on Smith's case as the matter was before the courts. That's the story today from The Guardian. Sad story for this guy. He seems like he's doing exactly what probably all of us would be doing in that case. And, I hope that he has a good outcome. I hope that the judge in this case shows some compassion. But again, legal industry butting up against, just giving people what they need to live a happy, healthy life. That's, to me, it's a really simple argument to make for doing away and abolishing, as Rico thinks, the governments, but really just the rules around cannabis. This is ridiculous. This plant grows. Anyone can grow it. Literally anyone can grow it. And we need to take that in consideration as this moves into this global, industry and business. So shout out to Gandalf. Hopefully we hear good news from New Zealand, but that's my story for today. I'm Saman Razani for High at 9 News, signing off, and hope everyone has a great Fat Tuesday.
Man,
I think we should cede the floor here to Yarrow. This is his uncle.
This is
everything.
Yeah, I mean
the man who showed him how to maneuver around the rings and get to the.
So I saw this article when Kevin Jordy posted it a few days ago, and I'm happy that Saman is bringing it up. And this guy looks like he's the Harrier equivalent of Brownie Mary, and that he's really an advocate and an activist. Doesn't seem like this is the New Zealand trapping criminal element that needs to be.
You're profiling. You're profiling now.
Yeah, I'm profiling. This guy looks like a granola chomping hippie who cares about patients, and I'm gonna read a book by its cover on this one. And so I think Gandalf deserves compassion because I think he's mostly sort of spearheading an unregulated compassion program that is probably not just effective but very well intended, and it's too bad that this has got to happen to him because it's probably going to make his beard gray.
Yo, well, why can't we bring Gandalf over to the U.S.? We got to bring the fucking Tate brothers over here to prove a point, to own the libs. I say we bring Gandalf over and call it a day. What do you think?
I mean, well, we all know that he wasn't making a lot of money because it doesn't look like he's had a haircut in years.
I don't know, man. He looks like he lives in a shoe.
He lives in a shoe, but he doesn't wear any. It's amazing.
Right?
He doesn't wear shoes for real.
Yeah, he's a barefoot hippie.
Get out of here.
It clearly states the guy can't afford shoes or a haircut. Okay,
I mean, his toe jam is my jam because I think what he's doing is noble. And it's like, how do we support people who are, this guy's not doing a BHO lab and blowing up apartment buildings. He's trying to help patients. And so,
those guys are really trying hard too. Okay. They're really trying hard.
The unregulated BHO labs that exploded in Sonoma County had an oversized influence on law enforcement enforcing against the entire underregulated cannabis industry. So I'm not going to give people too much of a pass when they're blowing up with gas. Just because you're on the hash.
Yeah, so look at this, bro.
Bars.
Yeah.
Middle Earth bar.
Yeah.
Them is fighting words. Okay.
Mid-Earth bar.
That said, this guy.
Wyatt Terp over here getting crazy. Okay.
Easy there, Saman. Go ahead. Come on, finish this up, Yarrow.
I just think that, from across the side that, we this guy seems like he's going to go through the ringer, be made an example of. And for what? You're again another camp travesty, and Gandalf's cool, right?
He's the Hobbit Lord, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh man, do you think? I feel like he should. I feel like he should. His transition is going to be into selling mushrooms next.
Definitely. That's the typical.
That's the pivot. That's the pivot for him.
Pivot right there.
Todd, you gonna send him some spores? Todd, did Todd's internet go out?
Nope.
Oh, there you are, Todd. Todd, you gonna send this guy some spores?
I don't know. Should I?
You should send this guy some spores and help this guy out. You know what I mean?
It doesn't seem like seem like he has a trust fund that's big enough to do a mushroom brand, because that's kind of what.
He's gonna rebrand. He's gonna shave.
He is the brand, Saman. Look at that beard.
He's gonna shave off the hair.
Yeah.
He's gonna shave his beard down into a mustache, dye it black, and now he's Mario. He's no longer.
No, he'll be appropriated by some Chad with a trust fund for sure.
Oh man,
you're the perfect face for my mushroom brand.
Philip Zimmerman says, send him some seeds and call it Phil Grow Baggins.
I see what he did there.
Hey, all jokes aside, man, I hope this guy. I hope this guy I hope he gets out, and I hope he gets to continue doing what he's doing. Because, like you said, Saman, he's doing some good fucking work out there.
I totally agree. I totally agree with that. I wish the best for this guy.
We all love this story. We all hate to hear stuff like this happening. I mean, we're joking, but man, it's just because we can't really do anything. I mean, this guy's doing it. He's really out there on the limb, and he's in a place where, we don't understand. I don't understand how the rules work in us.
I can tell you how they work.
Oh, I'm sure you can, Jay.
Upside down and backwards. Yeah.
It spins the other way, I think. Yeah.
Everything is backwards down there, literally.
That's what he said.
But yeah, shout out Gandalf.
Yeah, shout out to Gandalf. Gandalf, we wish you the best. Is there a GoFundMe that people have set up for this guy or anything like that? Do we know someone?
There is, it did mention a donations page. Let's see if we can, I'm going to click on it right now. Well, I'm going to throw the link to the donations page in the chat right now.
Send it over to me. Email it over to me, Saman, too, and I'll make sure that it gets put into our into the description of this video. So if anybody that is watching does want to contribute to him and his efforts or whatnot, they have the ability to, and we do wish him the best. And on that, we're gonna roll into our final commercial, and we're gonna be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, And I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested, every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility, so you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Is it?
Oh, and we are back, you guys. We are back, Rico.
Yeah, y'all. Fresh off the last story that was surely brought a tear to his eye. We have the Sebastopol Sage up next. The man who's currently identifying not as a hobbit, but as a second generation cultivator and founder of Special Teams Consulting. Here to break us off with another story is none other than another fellow dope dad, Yarrow Kubrin. What do you have for us today? Beautiful Tuesday morning, Yarrow.
That was a beautiful intro. Thank you. I'm feeling validated like a parking ticket.
Oh boy.
Thank you very much.
There we go. You should have introduced him as Gand because he still hasn't got off yet.
Oh,
man.
Edgelord. No bleach that's gonna clean your mind. I can't even think of a filtration system for your thought process that's going to be compliant.
Somehow you got to clean those pipes.
Oh, God.
He needs an R-bro system.
Oh, God. So anyway, I'm going to take a bleach bath after I get off high at night after that digital hazing from our primary host. But without further ado, Yarrow Kubrin, thank you so much for the refreshed intro. And my article today, while a different article, is actually, unfortunately, same article that Rico discussed, which is about this report out of the DCC in California. And so instead of reading the same stuff, I'm going to try to channel my inner dopest dad and just give you guys the highlights instead of everything about it and talk about the things that weren't talked about when Rico covered the same report with the DCC. So without further ado, hot off the press today from Cannabis Business Times, 60% of cannabis consumed in California comes from unregulated markets as licensed production grows. So the state did a report, okay, and they paid a company called ERA Economics, LLC, to provide a snapshot of industry conditions, most of which those in the industry already knew. But it's always nice to get a third-party validation, even if it's just a better intro when you cover a story. And it talks about some of the market dynamics that we're seeing. As we talked about earlier in the show, it's really hard to be able to quantify the illicit market. So I think that at best, those are just throwing darts at a dartboard. But it talks a little bit about the hemp market, and you can download the actual report from the article that I'm covering. And so what does it really talk about? It talks about the decrease in price per flower from about $1,300 back in 20 and 21 down to a fraction of that. It talks about retail hitting an all-time high in 2021, which for California regulated was about $5.5 billion. It talks about how things are down now about 57% compared with the average prices from 4.5 years ago. It talks about how indoor prices dropped 46%, outdoor dropped 74%, and mixed light took a 60% dip in price in that period of time. Let's talk a little bit about what else it talks about. So I thought this was interesting. We covered this a week and a half ago here, that the amount of fallow licenses is now greater than the amount of active licenses. And we saw a 43% decrease in licenses over a 4-year period. Many of those licenses were actually consolidated. So I think that speaks a little bit more towards industry maturation. Average number of licenses dropped 18% just year over year. But cannabis production spiked by 12%. And so my takeaway for our viewers is California is producing more regulated cannabis with less players accounting for that production. That was the anticipated consolidation that people were afraid of with the maturation of a nascent market. And it was why initially there was this baked in head start for the cottage cultivator that at the 11th hour behind the scenes was eviscerated from the proposed rules and regs. So more weed being made by less people, and a slight wholesale increase of about 7.5%. So the industry is actually growing, even though prices are either falling or stabilizing. It also talked about how California produced more licensed cannabis in 2024 than at any time since adult use was passed. And that was about 1.4 million pounds. I'm personally willing to try every bag. There's only so many hours in the day, but hey. And it said that 40% of the 3.8 million pounds that they estimate Californians consume was from regulated cannabis. So there was about 2.5 million pounds that was supplied from unlicensed operation, but that they believe there's 12 million pounds of unlicensed cannabis produced in California, and that the vast majority of that goes out of state. Again, this shouldn't be news for anybody who's been around for more than a minute, but it is nice to see it validated through a rigorous study. And I think that the key here is that, we are currently at about 60 million square feet of canopy. And it is my opinion that besides increasing retail, brick and mortar, no retail deserts, decreasing taxes, it is my opinion that really what this article says at the end of the day is that California desperately needs to be an export state. And solving that solves a lot of the woes of overproduction. This is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News.
Yeah, so basically,
We're getting a lot of it's Todd's getting his floors replaced right now.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I'm having construction done on my house.
I thought that was Saruman had entered the chat.
Don't be talking about my cousin like
that. You're fucking Yarrow up. No, I think we're going a little bit deeper on this one, Yarrow. But it's just California is screwed, and I truly believe. A lot of the things that we talk about, we joke about here on the show, like all the time. We make light of situations, to keep from things being as dark as they need to, as they are in reality. But the solutions are simple, man. Lower the taxes, open up the market, and stop treating these legal business owners like they're still criminals. Just listen to the people, listen to these reports. You have these Chads coming up with these reports you're spending millions of dollars on. State of California, Gavin Newsom, just go through with what they say. How about that for once, and stop stop bowing down to the almighty dollar, and know that you're not going to have any more dollars if you continue to tax the shit out of this industry.
That's very right. Leah Patrick, she says, send Texas your Cali cannabis, she says. Texas needs it.
It's probably already there.
Only if there's a direct quid pro quo for your brisket.
Jason would be called the quid pro bro.
Yes.
That's cute. That's cute.
Way down there.
That's cute.
I think that we're already exporting, right? But it's just like now it's under the auspice of a
off the books
industry.
Off the books export.
No, I'm just gonna say it's not as regulated. It's regulated. It's not as regulated.
There's no regulation, bro. Stop it, bro. There is. No, there's not.
You still have to have a hemp license, my friend.
No,
so there is,
bro.
There's
no hemp license for the trap market. The people are just shipping all these boxes all over everywhere.
Listen. There's a hemp market. There's a cannabis market, and then there's the black market. Maybe we should call it the hidden market, like they do in New Zealand.
Oh boy!
The point that I'm trying to make is, it's already being done. It's just there needs to be an actual pathway so that there is no risk. It's a normal way of doing commerce. So it's really not that it's not happening. It's happening. It's exactly why there isn't this oversupply and there isn't hundreds of thousands of pounds of weed sitting here in California.
There is an oversupply of weed, though, Saman.
No, there's
yeah,
not
there is.
Supply, because that supply is no. Trust me, there's not, because you don't get hit up by 50 people looking for trim every single day because they're looking for it to make products out of it, to make it into extracts. So listen, when
that doesn't make sense.
When we say
there's an oversupply,
none of these guys would be calling anybody for anything if there was an oversupply. There's not an oversupply because that product's making it to all these other markets. There's not an oversupply if the supply.
Listen, bro. There's tons of cultivations that aren't able to pay their bills in Oklahoma. There's an oversupply of weed, of cultivation throughout our country right now.
I would say the only reason why there's an oversupply is because all these new states coming along.
So now you flip flopped. You've done a RICO.
No.
You pulled a RICO.
You need to just let me finish my thought here, so that you can actually understand what the fuck I'm trying to say.
Go for it.
So listen, where California has been over the last how many years? 6-7 years. Okay, started off like every other state starts off. And then what happens? It consolidates. They reduce the number of active licenses to just the people that are actually doing the work, commerce. That's going to happen every other market. It's just going to take whatever time it takes. It's an inverse relationship to time. So you're going to have to wait for that to happen. But saying that there's an oversupply in the country, there's still underserved markets that aren't getting products. So when you take the total accumulative volume and mass of cannabis being grown in this country, and every single consumer everywhere in this country, I would say that the supply is meeting the demand. I would not say that there's an oversupply.
I don't know. I believe there's an oversupply. 100%.
Yeah, that's why it ends up in other states, of course.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. If you look at it like an industry or a market for just this country, and not a single state, those metrics change. That data changes. So it's like, yeah, but when you dilute it with all these states, we're meeting the demand. So when you look at it holistically, that's what it is. When you look at it in a single vertical, in a single state, Oregon, California, Washington,
all oversupplied.
There's too much weed being grown there.
All oversupplied.
That's why it goes everywhere else.
All oversupply. I can't believe how they came up with that figure for how much weed is on the illicit market. I'm still trying to. I'm baffled. I'm baffled that they'd even come up with a number.
Yeah, it's what George W. Bush would call a guesstimate.
No, they often rely on Chad Whitney Bo Whitney out of Oregon, and there's a few people who like to say they've got their ear to the ground, and
they still can't quantify the illicit market sales. That's just total bullshit.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh. Jason, what you got for us to close the day out, brother?
Oh, I got a good story for you guys.
We got a little ditty bop for us.
Everyone loves a good gaslighting, right? You know what I mean? And Yarrow, I have a question. Can you look up this guy? Can you tell me if this guy's Jewish or not? I really am dying to know.
What?
I'm dying to know.
Oh, now we're hating on the Jews?
No. I'm not.
Somebody needs to cancel his Twitter
Santa
account.
Claus
Come on, man.
actor David Krumholtz, 46, reveals the drug that almost made him die, and it's legal in 39 states, he says. Actor David Krumholtz had a very serious reaction to a very popular drug, marijuana. The number star, 46, started using marijuana again after a long break and soon became a daily smoker. He then developed a rare condition called cannabinoid hypermesis syndrome, better known as CHS. In a quote, he says, "It's rare, but it's becoming more and more prevalent yearly. Like numbers are doubling every year," he shared with Page 6 at a screening of Riff Raff. He said there are a lot of theories as to what has caused a spike in CHS, which only affects daily long-term users of marijuana. But he thinks cannabis companies are to blame, he says. Essentially, they messed up weed, Krumholtz said. They made it too strong, and they don't know why it's happening. The Oppenheimer actor said the brain has cannabinoid receptors, and you can blow out the receptors like blowing out an engine. making it that every time you smoke pot, not every time, but if you smoke it enough, you get wildly, dangerously nauseous, he says. CHS leads to repeated and severe bouts of vomiting, which only occurs in daily long-term users of marijuana, according to Cedars-Sinai. And Krumholtz said he experienced the side effect of hypernausea. In a quote, he says, "I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I almost died a couple of times," he said, adding that he was serious. "I have unpaid emergency room bills up the wazoo. It's really bad. It's really dangerous. It's as serious as a heart attack, and it's horrifying for those that suffer from it," he says. He also says he thinks no one talks about the dangers of weed because it's a friendly drug and it's the drug that doesn't kill you. But he very solemnly added, "It's very addictive drug, and now that it's super strong, it's really addictive." Ideally, Krumholtz would like the public to be more aware of the sometimes fatal CHS. I don't know of anyone that's died from CHS. I think that's gaslighting, but okay, we'll proceed. Krumholtz no longer smokes pot as a result of his experiences with CHS and says, "I would love to see every legal cannabis store be required to have a pamphlet," he said, "an optional pamphlet that says, hey, if you start feeling nauseous, stop, because there is nothing that works except stopping." Last fall, I love how he says he wants every store to have a pamphlet and then says it's an optional pamphlet. This totally contradicts himself. Anyways, last fall, the 10 Things I Hate About You actor told the New York Times that he'd spend 10 hours a day in hot baths in an attempt to relieve the symptoms of CHS. "I had numbness in my extremities, pain in my chest, and my blood pressure skyrocketed," he said. He believes weed would have eventually killed him if his dream role in the Oppenheimer hadn't come along. The role in the Oscar-winning film inspired him to quit smoking weed for good, he says. Now Krumholtz is waiting for his next big role and is trying not to lose hope as no one is banging on his door. The hardest part of being in the film that won everything and made $1 billion is that you go in this place of expectation, he told The Hollywood Reporter. In a quote, he says, "It's righteous expectation, but the problem is when it doesn't pan out or it isn't panning out, you start to really lose your shit and fall into resentment." Krumholtz added, "So I can let that happen because ultimately it hurts me and it hurts my acting and it hurts my family. So I am trying to be as patient as possible, but there's no one banging on my door currently," he says. Wah, wah, wah. Wah, 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 and wah. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. This is just total ridiculousness, in my opinion. But
first off, I want to say, like, what does him having to be Jewish have anything to do with this? I don't think I don't think we need to go down that road.
Well, well, hold on. First of all, no, because I have asked a number of doctors, and this is going to be the first person that I have ever seen or heard of that is Jewish that has gotten CHS. Or claims that they have CHS.
Yeah, go ahead. Go down that research route.
Rico, it's genetic, actually. So CHS is actually what the research is showing is that there's aflatoxins in the cannabis, right? And Todd, you can potentially chime in here, but there's there's a genetic, trait in people that have susceptibility to this, and those aflatoxins and mycotoxins in the cannabis that aren't remediated out of it by microwaves or whatever, like those rad source machines that blast the cannabis, like literally every batch of weed in Colorado, which will probably be everywhere else in the future too, to prevent those microbes and yeasts from growing. But there is a genetic disposition to that, and our dear friend Kyle Boyer actually wrote some really key scientific literature and published it, I think, back in August. We'll try to post that up too on our site to share with people. But there is a lot more to it than spraying neem oil on the plant, and so, having to be Jewish or not, there is a genetic disposition, and so you have to look at the DNA and you have to look at those things pretty.
But what does it have to do with this guy, though? Is what I'm saying.
He probably has the genetic disposition to CHS. And so if like, look, there's
a big miss. There's a big miss. Judaism is the only thing in the world that I'm aware of where you can be religious, cultural, or racial, and you can be 1 out of 3, 2 out of 3, or 3 out of 3 of those categories. So you can be religiously Jewish, but not be racially Jewish. And so the genetic part. And I appreciate Saman linking back to the science and taking it away from the idea that this question. Let me finish, please. We're not doing that this week. I appreciate Saman linking it back to the science and sort of resetting that this question was in any way an attempt to say anything disparaging or to insinuate anything, because obviously I don't think that's what Jason meant.
Well,
there
Jason's
are
Jewish.
people who are genetically Jewish where there are things that are more prevalent in people that are genetically Jewish, whether it's Sephardic or Ashkenazi, in just the same way sickle cell anemia shows up more prominently in people who are African American or Black, right? So I think that's where he was going with it. The reason that breaks down is because you can be religiously Jewish, not genetically Jewish, and you're considered as Jewish as the next person. And this person is Jewish. Their family was from Poland, and I think the challenge that we have is, if as a clearly a pro cannabis group of pundits, how do we sort through the hogwash, the misinformation, the over-covered bullshit when it comes to demonizing or continuing to stigmatize cannabis versus the genuine issues that are out there, like the kids that accidentally get into gummies because stupid parents didn't lock it up. And so this syndrome that this guy is talking about, we already know people like, I think her name's Alice Moon, people in the California industry who've been trying to bang the drum around this issue for a long time and have felt like they weren't necessarily embraced by the industry or the community because it was such a contrarian view. And so I can imagine that this guy being in Hollywood, where everybody subscribes to California Sober and where cannabis is seen as a very benevolent thing that is probably used by a vast majority of people in the Los Angeles surrounds, it feels like he's an outlier because he had a genuine medical reaction. So that said, hey, newsflash, motherfucker, if you're smoking weed all day, it's probably not going to be good for your career. Like, put some guardrails around that, whether you have a syndrome or not. It sounds like you had stoner syndrome to begin with, and that works when you're like 19 in college. But if you're trying to continue to further your career and you're 39, you might want to drink a little coffee and grind too.
I liked how he tried to spin it off and be like, oh, you know, and the fact that I'm not getting any calls for acting is just adding to my depression.
Well, he's been in Academy Award-winning movies. So
he's just full of himself then.
For him, this isn't a tool that he can benefit from. That's great. And telling his story, actors tend to be super thirsty for the spotlight.
He's definitely thirsty.
Anything they can do to get another article written about them, whether it's about the big toe they stubbed on the refrigerator at 2:30 a.m. when they went and got a glass of water, or the fact that their dog has a third testicle, actors are going to be thirsty for the spotlight. So here was his opportunity for him to be covered with his cannabis journey about this rare syndrome. And like, great, cool, whatever. But it's not the same as the broader health issues we have from gummies that aren't locked up or edibles that don't have potency on them. Like, this is still
it's all self-induced
percentage of people.
Yeah.
And it's a real thing, but it's like, I mean, I don't think anybody should go into a dispensary and not buy a product because they're afraid they might have this syndrome. You probably didn't. You probably just got too high last time. You're good.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, this I don't see what is like what this guy's getting out of like making a statement. Like, what was this interview even about?
Well, first of all, this article,
getting money from pharmaceuticals.
No. Well, first of all, hold on.
That's what I'm getting.
Hold on a second. I'm about to tell you right now. This article came out of the UK, out of the Daily Mail. So it's a total propaganda piece going around, floating around London, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to scare people from buying weed out there.
Yeah, that's
right.
It's
scared of
like
weed.
he told Page Six exclusively that he didn't start. Like, what was the interview even about? Like, that's what I don't get. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like all the Jewish comments, like aside and everything, I'm like, yo, like, what is this guy's aim? Period for them to even put this out. It seems like
he's just trying to get a gig. He's just trying to get a gig.
I think he's trying to find someone
smoking pot, and nobody's hiring me anymore.
Yeah, he's trying to get a sympathy hire.
They left him out of the cipher.
Quitter there, champ. No one likes
right. Somebody left him out of the cipher, so he's talking shit about their weed, maybe. No, but all jokes aside, I feel like there's always an outlier. Somebody has a negative reaction to something. You have no idea what your body or how your body is going to react to certain substances. And maybe he smoked something that he just didn't agree with. Like, I don't know. I don't know this guy from anything else. If my body disagrees with something, it makes me feel like absolute shit. I'm just not going to do it anymore. I don't really feel like there's a need for me to just go start. That's how fucking cheese makes me feel. I'm lactose intolerant. I'm gonna blow up the bathroom afterwards. You know what? I'm gonna stop eating cheese.
So I'm gonna tell you where this is disagreeable to me and where I'm intolerant of what this guy said, which is that instead of solely focusing on his medical condition, which is a genuine medical condition, this guy feels like because he's got a reporter or microphone in front of him, it's his job to riff, ramble, and rant, not knowing that that's my sole domain on High at 9 News. Thank you very much. And so he starts talking about how, it's super addictive and they've ruined weed with potency. And like, those are opinions, and he's weaving all of that into what would otherwise be a legitimate medical journey for a single person. And so, like, no, they haven't ruined weed. I'm sorry, bro, but that doesn't, you don't get to under the cover of you having a medical condition then start launching all of these attacks on cannabis in general. And the fact that this syndrome can be fatal, which is what it says, and I'm not a doctor, don't play one on TV, so I'm not going to dispute that.
I don't believe that.
The fact that he says, I almost died, I'm like, stop, bro. And then he talks about all his mounting medical bills from going to the ER. I hear you, and not having healthcare coverage is a major issue for many Americans in the United States. And if you had healthcare coverage, I just don't know. I think he's kind of like milking it and expanding it and creating a bunch of other facets. I think he would get a lot more respect from the industry and compassion from the community if he only talked about the medical condition and wanting it to be a little bit more well-known, and that it's a very rare thing, but that for him it didn't work, and now he's better. Like,
maybe that's why he's over in the UK, because they got free healthcare over there. Get them.
He's trying to smuggle marmalade into Russia. That's his next gig.
Oh, that's his next gig. Oh boy. Oh man,
Mr. Marmalade.
He's getting a gig. Look, aflatoxins and mycotoxins are bad for everybody, not just Jews. Okay. I mean, if you're smoking aflatoxins and mycotoxins, you're gonna get sick for sure. It's a really bad thing, and that's why we test for that stuff.
So he could have been smoking dirty weed in the UK then.
Todd, I don't know if like when we're culturing and stuff, are these aflatoxins and some of these concentrations, are they even like growing anything?
Well, aflatoxins are very rare, and mycotoxins are very rare to find in cannabis. But once, twice, 3 times a year, we'll find a contaminated plant with aflatoxins, which again is could be deadly.
Right. And for those of you at home, like, when you see things like bud rot and stuff like that in your weed, like smoking that is going, you're ingesting something you shouldn't. And if you have this susceptibility genomically to this, cannabis hyperemesis syndrome, then you're gonna be affected, and you might end up like this guy. But if you have a history of that, you'll absolutely know. It's not just, I have to do more research, so I'm not gonna take what I say with a grain of sand, but essentially, like, I feel like users that have used cannabis for a long time have always experienced this, or have experienced it frequently over the years, so they will, it won't be a surprise. But in those cases, I don't know if it's, impossible to take a cannabis product other than just smoking flower. But it's something that you definitely need to be careful with, and you need to ensure that you're using the cleanest product. And so that is, the future of cannabis is going to be interesting because of these findings and because of this research, I feel.
Back to COA.
Mm-hmm. You ready? You ready, Rico?
So ready.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all for joining us for yet another episode of High 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our super fans getting their comments posted live on the big screen. We had a big one today. Jason,
Moy. Yes. Much love, Moy. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Add an ST and you got moist.
Oh boy.
Big love. Big love to live audience and online supporters catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the headlines of chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry, to our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and your respected opinions to the table, our production team, Cloud Media Partners, all the sponsors keeping our lights on and AV struggles to a minimum. As always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason why we show up to read these stories every single day. Thank you too. It has been, it's not Thursday, it's Tuesday.
Tuesday, bro. The other T day. Easy there.
Tuesday, March 4th. The show's over. You've all been blessed with the top industry headlines. Hope it's enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke until tomorrow. And hopefully it didn't have a bunch of toxins and impurities in it too. So you can just get high with no threat of CHS. But I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for I9 News, cannabis industry's #1 daily news show. I'm gonna pop things back out to the Shire because I feel like you didn't get a fair shake today. Yarrow.
Hey, so I would say it is genuinely a joy to join our viewers on Tuesday mornings and to riff, ramble, and rant about the previous 24-hour news cycle in cannabis and hemp. Come back tomorrow. We're here every day at 9, except weekends. Until then, smash the like button.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Smash it before you pass it.
That's words to live by.